heard all of the crazy stories and legends and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going there and looking around and thinking, I don't see what the big deal is. But the ranch itself was in a really sad state of disrepair.
Mm-hmm.
The facilities were run down.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Paranormal Portal Podcast. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. Thank you all for joining us, and special thank you goes out to all of you who continue to support the podcast and continue to spread the word. Always remember, if any of you out there have experiences of your own that you'd like to share, feel free to email me at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. Again, paranormalportalradio@gmail.com, and you too could be a guest on the show. Sitting down with Thomas Winterton of Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch. You've got an incredible journey. Would you mind taking a moment and just letting us know how did this start for you? How did you end up going to work at Skinwalker Ranch?
It's a great question, and it's one, if you told me 6 years ago that I'd be sitting here today, I would have laughed you out of the building.
Yeah.
Because 6 years ago, I was just a small town businessman, owned a couple small businesses, owned a couple small luxury hotels, and Brandon had just purchased the ranch. And that first week that he had it, he sent a very close confidant of his, Jim Morse, out. You know, Jim's on the show too. He's the one with the Pendleton vest, right? But Jim came out and ended up staying at my hotel. And the following day, when I was checking him out of his room, we got visiting, and Jim learned that I was a licensed general contractor here in the state of Utah, and said, "Oh, you know, I'm out here representing a gentleman that just bought a ranch called Skinwalker Ranch. Have you ever heard of it?" And having grown up in the basin, I'm like, well, yeah, I've heard of it. We used to take our dates down there and jump the gate, you know, so, like when we were in high school. And he said, well, yeah, so just bought this. He said, would you be willing to come out and do a property inspection for us? And he didn't disclose who Brandon was at that point. He kept it very discreet. And I said, yeah, you know, the opportunity to go on this place that had been locked down and kept secret for 20 years was more than I could resist. And so I told him I'd be happy to come down there, and went down to the property for the first time. And, you know, I say we jumped the gate. We jumped the gate at midnight, right? You'd walk in 100 feet, and then by that point, our dates are so scared they're hanging under our arms tight, and it's like mission accomplished. Let's go back to the truck.
We're good,
right? So to say that I'd been on Skinwalker Ranch, you know, I'd never been in on the property,
right?
And so going in with Jim the first time, I'd heard all of the crazy stories and legends and stuff, and I remember going there and looking around and thinking, I don't see what the big deal is. This is just a rundown. I mean, it's beautiful, beautiful scenery, but the ranch itself was in a really sad state of disrepair. The facilities were run down. There was a lot of major issues with the property that I found. And so a couple of them were really pressing. The wastewater system for the ranch house had failed. So it's never a good thing when you're washing your clothes or flushing your toilet and seeing it come out in the field, right? So immediately set to work to help fix that. At this point, Jim took me out to Salt Lake, introduced me to Brandon. The first time I met Brandon, I spent a few hours there at his office. It was fascinating to hear him relate to me kind of his history and why he would buy this ranch, and his vision with moving forward which was really, you know, he was really under the impression they were going to come in and find a mundane, prosaic explanation for everything that was happening, right? And so I helped him fix some of these serious issues and got it taken care of. I helped him resolve. We had some legal issues dealing with the right-of-ways in and out of the ranch. I helped him vacate the road that was through there. And so as a result, he just said, "Hey, will you stay on and run the ranch?" And at the time, because of my businesses and my motels and that, I had the luxury of being able to have the time that I could do both.
Sure.
And so that started me in on that. And I have to admit, I came on as a complete skeptic. I didn't believe the stories, you know, and you know, I've heard it said out here that a story is only worth repeating if you can improve it.
Right. So they grow. Yeah.
And so I imagine by the time I've heard this story a number of times, it's been improved upon greatly. And that was my mindset. And, you know, it didn't take very long. Now, for me, it took a long time. It didn't take very long for things to start happening.
Right.
Yeah. But the thing about the ranch, the maddening thing about the ranch is that the things that happen, it's just a coincidence.
Right. Sure.
Just a coincidence.
Right.
Same with the second time, the third time. Well, I'm so adamant that there's nothing to it that for me, you know, we're now into 100 times.
Right.
And now I'm really starting to battle inside because my personal programming, my whole belief system is being challenged to the point that, you could say it's a coincidence once, twice. At what point do you finally have to say, maybe 100 times isn't a coincidence? Right?
Depends on the individual, but I think the ranch has made believers out of a lot of people, you know?
That it has.
Because I think when you're talking about an area of ground, and it's the entire basin, I think, you know, it's just this
for sure,
this maelstrom of a perfect storm of phenomena, because there's so many things represented. But I imagine that, as you're saying, for the people living here, it's like, you know of it. It's the local legend and stuff. But when you're there and you're experiencing, did you notice? I know it sounds like you kind of came into this as a skeptic, which is understandable. Did you notice a feel once you entered this property, like, ooh, wait, this feels different? Anything like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did. Like, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah.
So the first time I ever went into the ranch house, we had some elderly caretakers that were living there when we took it over that were there during Bigelow's time and had been there for like 16 years.
Oh, wow.
And so they were showing us the ranch house. This is the famous house that the Shermans had so many experiences in. The groceries getting put back in the back, taken out of the cupboards and put back in the bag, and you know, all the locks and the locks on the kitchen cabinets and all that stuff. Well, we're getting a tour of this house. We get into the back bedroom that's on the southeast corner of the house. Yeah. And got in there, and I started feeling really dizzy. And literally the room started to feel like it was spinning. Mm-hmm. And it got so bad that I literally backed my back up to the wall and then slid down the wall to where I was sitting on the ground.
Wow.
And again, because of my belief system, you know, I'm thinking I must have got low blood sugar. Right? Because I'm borderline hypoglycemic. Sure. I need the sugar.
Right.
Yeah. So I dispelled it as, my blood sugar got a little low.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I have to say, I don't remember very many instances in my life of ever having that sensation where the room's spinning.
Right.
Remember, I can't remember any offhand, but I'm not going to say it hasn't happened.
Right.
I don't remember any.
But you remember that one.
I remember that one. It stands out very clearly.
That's incredible.
And I think it's because it wasn't low blood sugar.
Right. Yeah.
I wanted to assign it to that.
Because that was safe to think that.
But here we are 6 years later.
Right.
There's not a part of me that believes it was low blood sugar.
Just a little in too deep.
Yeah. So yes, to answer your feeling, even though I'm looking around like, what's so special about this place? There was that incident. That was the very first time I visited the ranch. I mean, I was doing a property inspection for them, and so that was my first experience there.
Yeah, sure.
And it just went downhill from there. Right?
Well, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, just in watching the show, I've watched the first season and I'm looking forward to it. I'm binging it. I just love it. It's just fascinating because it seems like, and it sounds bizarre to say it, but it seems like this place has an intelligence. Like, and I know that sounds crazy, but it's like how it reacts in real time to what you guys are doing. It's almost as if you're being observed, which is just crazy. And I think it's amazing because there's something so profound going on there with all of the varied phenomena. I mean, the paranormal is a field that I'm obviously very passionate about, but usually you get a phenomena in a place. You get, this place is haunted. This place has Bigfoot. Mm-hmm. This thing, there's stuff going on over here. There's, weird stuff. But the Skinwalker Ranch has just been, it's just been the epitome of a superstorm of paranormal or supernatural or whatever's going on. And I don't pretend to know, but I find it absolutely incredible. And I have to commend you because knowing what you know and experiencing all of the things you've experienced, you're still there. That takes, you got to be cut from a special kind of metal to be continuing on.
There's two ways to look at that, really, okay. Right? Like my dad used to say growing up, no brain, no pain. Right? It's either people say, oh, you're so courageous to still keep going back. Well, that's one way to look at it, or I'm incredibly stupid. We could debate either one.
Sure.
The honest truth is that the ranch it encompasses all things paranormal. It is, that I think that's what makes it special is the fact that, I'm well aware there are some crazy hot spots around the world known for this or that.
Right.
This seems to be where they all converge.
Right.
And, there's an effect with the ranch that's been dubbed the hitchhiker effect.
Yes. I'm familiar with this.
And, unfortunately, this effect has been very, real for my family and I. It has followed me home. It's attached itself. And it's terrorized not only me, but my kids and my family.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Now, I can handle it, right? Like, this is my own choices.
Right.
And so if it terrorizes me, whatever. I didn't know what I was signing up for.
Sure.
What's your
understanding of it?
But it was still my choices.
Right.
But when it starts affecting my kids and my wife, who had no part and no say in that, that's when it really starts hitting home. Well, as being manager of the ranch, I've had the privilege to visit and associate with some of the prior investigators, researchers, people that have been on the ranch, and some of these have been greatly affected by the hitchhiker effect as well. Mm-hmm. The thing that scared me is the fact that these individuals, several of these individuals, after they left the ranch, had been so traumatized by it followed them home. It was affecting their families. They completely severed all ties to the ranch, down to the point that if they wore a shirt there, they burned it. We're talking, total cleanse, try to anything that may in any way be tied to that place, cutting ties. And the hitchhiker effect not only did not go away, but in some cases intensified.
Wow.
Okay. And I mean, I've been through the routine. We've done the saging. We've had the blessings. We've done all that. And I've seen them work for a small period of time, but nothing's been permanent. Right. It's like taking aspirin for a permanent disability.
Right.
We'll numb the pain for a couple hours, but when that aspirin wears off, it's still there. Right. And so this way I've kind of looked at, and it's funny because I've had 1 million people who are gifted. Oh, I can get rid of that for you. You're just not doing this. You're just not doing that.
Right.
And I smile inside. I'm like, you guys have no idea what we've tried. We have tried everything.
Right.
And we've had people just like you that say, oh yeah, you got to do this and do that.
Yeah.
What we're dealing with here is far more superior.
Right.
Mm-hmm. We're a very primitive species. And so watching these individuals who try to leave the ranch, but then watch that the ranch doesn't leave them.
Yeah.
I've come to the realization that, I could go ahead and leave. Yeah, I've had my share of trauma out there, and there's a lot of days I don't feel it's worth it.
Yeah.
But there's no guarantees if I leave, it's going to leave me alone.
Sure.
And based on the evidence I have, that's not the case.
Right.
So if it's going to continue to terrorize me and my family, I would rather be on the inside where I can at least get validation from the people I'm working with who are experiencing the same things as me.
Right.
And have access to that science community and have access, it's going to happen anyways. I might as well be on the inside rather than on the outside. Now I'm out and I'm still experiencing the same stuff, and I don't have the same support system that I did before. After they're like, there's nothing here, that Travis walks out and he's like, that just ain't possible. Y'all, I think I'm going batshit crazy. It's not stupidity, it's not courage, it's necessity. I tell people that joining the ranch team is like joining the mafia. There's only one way out. Right? Yeah.
You're probably right, though. I mean, but that's another point is, and I've got to commend your entire team, including Brandon, of course, who's spearheaded this effort, but he's really going at this full force, bringing in some incredibly talented minds, bringing in all kinds of different approaches. And I think that that's awesome because it's never going to be solved if you only take a look at it from one perspective. I don't know, and I've not been there, so I don't have the luxury of saying that, but it seems like whatever's going on in this situation, it's imbued with this land. I mean, it's part of the land.
It feels that way.
Yeah.
You ever see the movie Jumanji?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's like once you roll that first dice, you don't have the luxury of stopping. I mean, you can stop.
Yeah.
But what's the consequences?
Right.
And you're right. Like, we're in this far now.
Yeah.
And it feels like the only way to get through this is keep rolling the dice.
Right. Does it, in all these years, does it feel like you as a team are making progress? I mean, does it feel like that, and I know that's a loaded question, and I apologize for that. But
no, you're welcome to ask any questions.
Yeah.
There's not a dumb question here, right?
Sure.
Some days it does.
Okay.
The frustrating thing about the ranch is literally we'll have an event happen and we're like, aha, finally we're able to lift a fingerprint off of this crime scene.
Right.
We're going to get you now. And then, only to run the fingerprint and find out that, it's our own or something. And you're like, so we have periods of time where we feel like we're starting to get an idea, only to have an event happen almost shortly after that completely erases anything we thought we knew and puts us back at square one.
Right, sure.
And so, it can be very frustrating. And you talk about an intelligence.
Yeah.
This is something that Travis gave me the hardest time for. Our first meeting, I kept talking about the ranch as if it's this living, breathing entity.
Right.
And matter of fact, I think on season 1, when you're watching the show, we're in Brandon's office there. He looks at me and he's like, it's just a ranch. Like, it's just a piece of ground.
Yeah.
And if you look at the look on my face, like, okay, go ahead.
Not only your face, but the other faces of the people that had already been there. They're like...
and at this point, I'm like, look, I don't need to convince you.
Yeah.
Soon enough, you'll be out there. It'll convince you itself. And the interesting thing is, we're bringing out, so you look at Bigelow's team that they brought out, the scientists that they brought. Mm-hmm. Hey, these are credible scientists.
Right.
And then I look at Travis, who flat out just called us literally to our face, said that he thought we were batshit crazy. And he didn't really want any part of it.
Right. Oh.
Yeah. Because he said, I have a reputation as a scientist to protect. And I think that this is all just batshit crazy. I think you guys are batshit crazy. And I really thought he was an arrogant prick the first time I met him.
Oh, man.
And I was like, You just wait till you get out of the ranch. You'll be on my turf. Accidents happen every day on ranches. You never know.
Sure.
But and I think that was been the highlight of our filming. Mm-hmm. At least one of them was he'd only been there maybe 2-3 weeks.
Right. The transformation.
He'd just gotten radiated. Mm-hmm. Had that radiation. His monitors came off. Yep. The cameras go down for the day. We're done. He walks out of Homestead 2, throws his hands up. He's all like, y'all, I think I'm going batshit crazy. He's in. And we said, welcome to the club. Right. But you know, when you see these physicists and these scientists, they are not wired to buy into this. Yep. So if there's one thing I think that has been universally accepted on Skinwalker Ranch among all these scientists is they leave the place completely convinced that there's an intelligence behind what we're experiencing, because you cannot witness all these things taking place. I'll give you an example. And this is just a minor one, but we have some individuals that are at the ranch for the first time, and we're taking them up to the Masonic symbol, which is there close to the ranch house. And we're carrying those tri-field meters that you see. Oh, sure. They're carrying them. Well, those tri-field meters are programmed only to work a certain way, right? We're walking up there, and the guy and the guest that's there freaks out a little bit. He's like, whoa, the tri-field meter's sitting there flashing his 4-digit PIN code for his bank cards.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Oh my God. So he told us that this was his childhood phone number growing up, and he said that he uses that PIN code for all of his 4-digit, all his bank cards and everything. It's not a numeric value that should even be showing up on this tri-field meter.
That's incredible. That's amazing.
So personalized to him.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Like, I see you. I know you're here.
Yeah. and so that's just a minor.
Yeah, that's still crazy, because that's something him, only him, you know.
The rest of us wouldn't have known.
Yeah, no.
And there's a million of those.
Sure.
And they have to do with, the craziest thing is the timing of things. Like, and I'll give you an example. We're constantly battling with our cameras, our surveillance cameras going on and off.
Yeah.
Okay. That happens everywhere. Like, that's just electronics.
Right.
So you look at it and say, well, there's nothing special about that. There's a million reasons why that could be taking place. Bad connection, maybe you're getting oxidation in your connectors, on and on and on and on. But when you have other events that start taking place, or let's say we see a UFO up in the sky or UAP up in the sky, and you go back and you check the camera, and 30 seconds before that shows up, the camera turns itself off.
Right.
Yeah.
That event takes place, and then magically the camera comes on. The timing is what drives us all crazy.
Yeah.
The timing, and it is like that constantly. And then it leaves you maddening, because the event by itself of the camera turning on and off, maybe it got hot, maybe it, but it's like, how did it correlate perfectly with this other stuff? It's just, again, once might be a coincidence, twice might be a coincidence. We got 6 years worth now. It's like, it's not a coincidence.
So do you get the feeling then, like, during the show, sometimes you guys are carrying the tri-field meter, it's like, whoa, this is dangerous radiation, we gotta get out, let's go. Now, do you think that radiation is actually present, or do you think, and this is just speculation, obviously, or do you think it's something messing with the equipment?
That is a fantastic question. So we battle with this constantly.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to radiation. Because, the reason why Travis is throwing his hands up is he gets radiated, okay? And he actually gets the burns right here on his hand.
Right.
Those are listening right there between the thumb and your pointer finger. And then one up on the temple by his eye. And he had some other symptoms of radiation poisoning. or radiation burns. And then we immediately contact Qualtech, who came down and did, production was really nervous about coming to this ranch in the first place. So before they sent a single person from their staff down, we actually had Qualtech come down and they did a scan of the property. And they do this for the military. They're one of the very best as far as monitoring and checking out sites. They do a lot of the nuclear sites. Mm-hmm. So they bring down their really high-tech equipment. They give us a clean bill of health on the ranch. We took them everywhere where we were going to be filming. Wow. Homesteads especially. We spent the most time there in the homesteads. Mm-hmm. So here's Travis getting radiated, right? So we immediately evacuate everybody out, bring in Qualtech. They come down, they do a scan. Nothing. And it was right after they're like, there's nothing here, that Travis walks out. And he's like, that just ain't possible. Y'all, I think I'm going batshit crazy. Because radiation doesn't just come and go like that. Yeah, right?
You purge it out of your body. Yeah.
So that leaves us to say, well, obviously he got the burns that make it real. Right. But there's plenty of other times when we're getting readings on our equipment and we have to ask ourselves, is it really reading that? Yeah. Or is it electromagnetic interference that's playing with the circuitry inside that device that's making it think that it's getting those readings, but it's really not? And so we've done experiments where we have taken the Geiger counters and things and we've put them in a Faraday cage of sorts. Right. Okay. And I know the one time we wrapped it up in this mesh netting. Sure. The idea was to shield it as much as possible from the electromagnetic, but not shield it from being able to get the radiation. Yeah. And I have to be careful here because there's some of this that might still air publicly. Okay. Yeah. All I will say is we still got abnormal readings, but it was in the completely opposite direction than what we expected to get. Wow. Our equipment was malfunctioning in such a scary way that if it was real, we were in serious, health issues.
It's got to be just maddening because you don't know what way it's coming ever. You don't know where it's coming from, what direction, how it's going to be coming. It's just coming. You can count on that.
How do you take an instrument that's really shielded from EMF, right? Or EMI, or whatever it is. Yep. How do you take an instrument that's heavily shielded in that and spoof it?
Right. Well, you don't.
Because you would think that anything coming in would have to be an outside signal or energy or frequency.
And of course, all these pieces of equipment have been calibrated and certified and all that, right?
Eric is meticulous. Right. This is the part that people don't see on the show. Like those stupid little GPS trackers that we use all the time. Because we can use a million of them and we like redundancy. Yeah. What you don't see is Eric is so adamant that he knows the behavior of these things that a week before we're scheduled to use them, he's got them all up, working, and he will watch them for like 3 or 4 days solid just to get an idea of the behavior. He'll take and remove any that are even questionable. Right. Mm-hmm. Then after that, him and I took a walk. We literally walked the property in a specific pattern, in a specific place. Then he goes back and he lines that up to make sure that they all match up. Anything that's not lining up gets removed. Wow. By the time we get to an experiment, he's had a full week of calibrating, and he is absolutely confident that the ones that are there are performing the way they should. We go up, we get anomalous readings with them. Right. Anything that brings an anomalous reading, he takes that one sensor then, that he's now going to watch that for the next month. You know?
So that's like quarantined out.
That's quarantined out.
He's got video cameras on.
Because he wants to know.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
Was it the device that just is malfunctioning? Mm-hmm. Or was there truly an anomalous? Well, the only way to see, let's watch it for the next week or the next 2 or the next month and see if we see any of that same behavior.
Right.
No, we don't. We don't see any of that same behavior. So,
explain that.
Explain. Well, and trust me, he tries. It's like, well, you know, maybe it got hot, or maybe we had so he literally is always is trying to find that magic. Because look, if we can replicate it, look, you heat that circuit board up to 98 degrees and it starts acting funny.
Okay. Right.
Nothing anomalous about it. Just happened to get to 98, right?
Sure.
Those are the things he's looking for. Is if we can replicate it, we can start to answer it.
Right.
And the funny thing is that you find something like that and you think, oh, they're getting hot. That's why it's doing it. So then you set up the test, and then the test completely bombs, and you're back to square one.
Right.
Do you think it's almost to the point where we need to develop new ways, new equipment, new measurable methods, because whatever you guys bring out there, it just seems to, well, I mean, it's not always failing, but you just never know when it's going to. And it's got to be a tough position not to be able to trust the readings, because that's your lifeline. That's your safety net. And when you get this piece of equipment, you're like, God, is that real? Or is you know, that's got to be a tough place.
It is scary. I know, I can't remember if it was season 2 or season 3 when we were filming. Our equipment was malfunctioning in such a scary way that if it was real, we were in serious like health issues. And so let's go home. So my phone is sitting here. I don't know if you guys could hear it sitting there vibrating.
Yeah.
But there's nothing.
Well, that's the other thing I've seen on this show is that people pulling out their phones and they're going through settings at light speed, like different functions and settings on their cell phones. And they're on camera and these guys are holding it. It's like, man.
2 days ago, I'm literally driving home from Vernal, heading to my house. I get to Fort Duchesne. Well, I get about a mile outside of Fort Duchesne before I get there. My phone's sitting in the passenger seat. I'm not even touching it. And all of a sudden, I get to the stoplight, and I notice that my phone has turned itself on. Now, to turn my phone on, first comes onto that screen, the Wells key. I have to put my fingerprint on there to unlock it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I look over. The phone is unlocked.
Oh my God.
Oh, I grabbed it and I did a screen recording. I'll show you guys.
Oh, wow.
Let me find it. Screen recordings. So I'll show you right here. This was the metadata on this.
Okay.
Right off my phone.
Oh, sure.
Right.
Details. September 6th, 11:20 a.m.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, because I'm going through the stoplight as I noticed it rerouted me. But guess...
Did you follow it?
Well, guess where that point is right there.
Is that your house?
Is that the ranch?
The ranch.
That's ranch.
Oh my God.
So it's saying, come back. You weren't supposed to leave.
So originally it had me turning it side. It was telling me, it was in full out. You could see the GPS is telling me turn right.
Oh my God.
So the phone turned itself on and is telling me, trying to direct me to go to the ranch. And you can see I just missed it there.
Now it's rerouting you again.
So now it's rerouted me back around.
Wow. That is spooky though. That's cool, but spooky.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
Oh my God.
I hadn't even been in Google Maps.
That's
Nothing.
amazing.
Wow.
So yeah, our electronics are always, but now what kind of message am I supposed to take from that? When your device turns itself on and says, take a right, let's take you to the ranch.
Did you go over there?
No.
Okay, I wouldn't have either.
No, it's not my boss.
The boss is where I'm going.
I'm just kidding. I say that with all respect.
Right. Yeah, you're crazy.
That is amazing.
So real quick, just one last question. In all of this time, that you've been involved with Brandon and the ranch, what is your takeaway from this? You used to be a skeptic. Now you're believing, but where are you in that realm?
That's a really good question. So, I've had to come, I think the biggest thing for me was I continued to, rationalize, try to explain away, coincidence after coincidence. And then I experienced my head injury in March of 2017. And that almost killed me.
Yeah, that's
I almost didn't pull through that. And the injury was disturbing in the fact that, I've got not only my doctor, but my doctor was a military doctor, come up through the military and seen a lot of things.
Right.
Very experienced and happened to be a guy that I went to church with. Mm-hmm. I trust this guy completely. He's cream, top shelf. He couldn't understand or explain anything that was happening to me. Medically, it was impossible, the things that were taking place in my head.
Yeah.
And we ran tests. I think we ran 43 different tests that week on me, trying to figure out what the heck is going on.
Yeah.
He's consulting with Intermountain Healthcare out in Salt Lake, University of Utah hospital, and then one of his colleagues that he had been in the military with. At least that's my impression. A doctor back east, a neurologist from back east, and all these people. Intermountain Healthcare is saying, well, you can transfer them out here if you want, but we don't know what to do with them. Like, your guess is as good as ours.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And University of Utah saying, well, yeah, transfer them out here. Our students would love to see this, right? It's like,
poking.
we love train wrecks. Let us look at it. But can we help him? We don't know what to do, right?
Oh.
So the injury itself medically was disturbing.
Sure.
And then that part closed. I get released from the hospital. I go home, and then begins the investigation as to what happened. And because of my position on the ranch and my association with it, at that point, I had some very high-level individuals start investigating what took place.
Yeah.
And that, I don't know which was more disturbing, the investigation or the actual injury.
Really?
Yeah, and what it's forced me to do is, one, come to terms with my mortality, right? Which is, I don't think, obviously there's a lot of people that have to do that due to illness or disease, right? But that's not something you're thinking about when you're 37. Right. I don't know how old I was, 36, 37 years old. Sure. You're not really thinking about that.
Right.
And so that was sobering to have to come to terms with that. But then I also had to wrestle, because of this other part of it, I had to wrestle with the fact that maybe my programming and my belief system, it was forcing me to finally come to terms with everything that I'd witnessed on the ranch, with where we sit. And the conclusion, to answer your question, is that I've had to come to terms with the fact that there's a lot in this world we don't understand.
Yeah.
Okay? And I've had to come to terms with as much as we'd like to pound on our chests and think we're all that, at the end of the day, we're a very primitive species. Mm-hmm. We're very primitive in our understanding. Mm-hmm. And there's a humility factor that's got to go into it.
Right.
And maybe accepting my place in it.
Right.
And just, I tell people, I no longer feel like I'm in control of anything.
Sure.
Which is both scary, but when you come to terms with it too, it's also very, there's a weight lifted off your shoulders.
Cathartic, yeah.
And you just live, I live every day for the day.
Yeah.
And as far as understanding, no, I don't know. The honest answer is I don't know. And I think anybody that tells you they do know just doesn't understand enough to know that they don't know.
Right.
Right.
That's a good point.
Absolutely.
They don't know what they don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
And so with that, I don't know, but I'm at peace with that.
Good. Yeah.
Right? Like this is all about the journey.
Right.
I'm happy to still be on it.
You're on a hell of a journey too.
We'll take it wherever it goes.
Absolutely.
And we'll be excited to keep watching. I mean, it's just phenomenal. Thank you so much for making time for the show.
Well, you guys are total professionals.
Oh, well, thank you.
And look, anybody that's willing to drive out here to this crazy place, we all joke. Look, I grew up in Uinta Basin. I love this place.
Right.
This is home, and I'm so proud of it. I'm proud of the people here, and I shout it from the rooftops. But I'm under no illusion that we're the 10 that you're taking to the prom, right?
Right.
Right? You gotta know who you are. And we always joke we're one exit from the middle of nowhere.
Right.
So, anybody that's willing to make that drive and come out and spend a couple days with us and see the area, I'm happy to try to accommodate. So I thank you guys for coming out here. And you're, like I say, you guys are professionals in every aspect. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us here on tonight's show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please feel free to follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Paranormal Portal Radio, as well as finding us on Twitter. We're on Twitter at Paranormal Portal, PORTL, and we'd love to have you stop by our YouTube page and subscribe and check out our shows there. We got hundreds of shows, Journeys into the Paranormal Portal, so I hope you'll check it out, guys. We're over there at youtube.com/Paranormal Portal, so hope to see you guys soon. We'll be back, of course, for more podcasts in the coming days. So we love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice, take care of each other, help each other out, find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can.